guys, I'm back with a new video. My name is Keisha and my channel is Zazie K Creations. Alright, so let's talk about this new look pattern. So just before I work on any pattern, I like to go through the instructions fully to make sure that I kind of have a general sense of what's expected, what to anticipate, where I may have some stopping points so I can kind of go and refresh my memory on some of the different techniques that I am learning as I am getting through the project. So again, we're going to talk about this new look pattern, just some things I discovered as I was going through the pattern instructions. And just to give you a little bit of, background on what I'm doing is I'm doing view A, which is the sleeveless version here, and it does have a contrasting back. So there's a different shade or there's an option to do a different color fabric for the back. And this pattern only calls for 4 pieces. It's a back, a lower back, which is actually the contrasting piece of the dress. There are pockets and there's a front. If I were to do view B, I would have this 5th piece here, which is the sleeve, but I'm not doing view B, so I only have 4 pattern pieces for this project. When I go down and take a look at the suggested layout, I think the fabric I have is 60 inches, and because I'm doing the XXL, I will more than likely follow this layout here. And when I say 60 inches, I mean like my fabric width is 60 inches wide from selvage to selvage. Although I don't always find anything that's really useful under the instruction piece here about the cutting layouts and the multi-size pattern, I did notice, let me go back, with the layout for the view A and the XXL, you'll notice that it has this little star here on both of the layouts. So I did go back to see exactly what this star represents. And when I go up to the cutting layout, you'll see that there's a 13 here, and that's the star. Though it doesn't look exactly like the one I just looked at, it's not as bold. This is in fact the star and or asterisk, and it tells you here that in the key, this is number 13, which represents the asterisk, and it gives you the description of what that means. And it basically says, for with and without nap layouts, ensure that the fabric is placed with nap or design running in the same direction. So if I were to make this using like a striped dress or a striped fabric, then I want to make sure that my fabric is in fact in the right direction. And I guess that would also mean, obviously, like in terms of the width, making sure that making sure that the fabric itself is all going in the same direction. I do have a fabric that has a print on it. It's not a solid color, but because of the nature of the print, I do not think I will have an issue with this part here, making sure that the fabric is all running in the same direction. But that's good for me to note as I'm cutting out my pieces. I'll be very cognizant of that. So here's where it got really interesting. Okay, so remember when I told you all, I actually hadn't even noticed that on the other layout there was nothing that talked about the lining in terms of the layout of the fabric piece. But what I noticed is that the lining is actually a lining for the pocket. It's not a lining for the dress itself. It's a pocket for the lining. So that will probably make this a lot more simplistic than what I thought it was going to be. So I was super happy to see that the lining itself is a pocket lining. Now, I was looking forward, honestly, to trying my hand at doing a lining for like a bodice or something like that, but this pattern does not call for that. So this is actually another win for me, which is great. So then I get into some of the pattern instructions here, and they all seem to be very, very, very straightforward. I say that because reading the instructions always seems straightforward, but then once you start getting into the flow of making the garment, when things become when things are in practice and you're actually doing it, sometimes you might get a little, mixed up in things. But as I was going through, everything on here seemed to be pretty straightforward. The only thing that I thought I might have a bit of a struggle with, believe it or not, is the instructions for the pocket lining and the pocket itself. I do not think I've ever done pockets. No, I did do a pocket once, and with a Simplicity shirt, and that was sometime, I think, last spring or summer-ish. I forget when I did that shirt, but I have not done pockets since then. I know there are several different ways that people cut out pockets and install pockets on dresses and shirts and things like that, but this here looks to be a little different from what I'm used to seeing. So again, I'm gonna try my hand at it per the instructions, and if I get a little bit mixed up or confused along the way, I'm going to just go ahead to find a tutorial that will show me really quickly how to insert a pocket on the side of a dress. But this pattern, again, it looks to be pretty straightforward, but there is another technique I have not done yet, but I know there are videos out there that will help me, and that is with the installing of the bias tape around the neckline, which is right at step number 11 and number 12, and then also around the armhole, which is step 14 or 15 or so. So those are the only areas where I might have to do a little bit of a pause and kind of go and refresh my memory and do some research into the technique itself. But the only two things I think I will have to do that with are really for the pockets and the bias tape around the neckline and the armhole finish, because I'm doing view A. So in total, this pattern for view A, it has 17 steps. If you are an advanced sewist, I'm sure you could probably get through this in like probably one day. I'm not advanced, so this will probably take me a little bit of time, but I do think that this is probably going to be a pretty decent pattern to work my way through. Again, this might be something great for beginners. I don't know just yet. I haven't done it, but I'm going to get the process going and started. The skills that you will learn as you work through this are the gathers, the narrow hem, the pockets, the lining for the pockets, and then bias tape around the neckline and the armhole. So again, this is the new look pattern 67.99. This over here, there it is, and that's this piece here. Well, this is the envelope here rather. And yes, this is what I am going to go ahead and get a start on. Okay, so I also took some time to really read the instructions for this McCall's pattern here. Let me zoom it in, zoom it out, move it a little bit. But it's McCall's 5893. As you all know, I'm going to be working on this, but when I did one of my last videos, I was struggling with just finding my supplies, and I wasn't as planned and organized with the preparation for this particular one, but it is an easy dress based off the title here, and I'm going to be doing view C. And let me just show you a little bit about the instructions. There really is nothing too complex about this at all. It is a simple dress pattern, and if you are a beginner just learning how to sew, want to try your hand at sewing, you will learn skills such as making darts, which are really easy. You're gonna get some experience in doing a pocket or doing two pockets, gathering stitches, and also creating a casing. So this is the McCall's $58.93, and I'm going to be doing view C as I told you in my last video. In terms of the pattern pieces for view C, I only need 4. That would be the bodice front, the bodice back, the pocket, and 1 pattern piece that I will use for both the front and the back of the skirt. The layout is very simple. Here it is for view C. This is the layout I'll be using because my fabric is in fact 60 inches wide. So it looks like I'm going to just fold here and here, like fold it. I can't think of what direction this is off the top, but the selvage would be on my right, and I'll just fold each side over. And then this is showing me how to place my pattern pieces on the fabric. Very simple. There was nothing to note in terms of the pattern markings or any special instructions. Again, it's a really simple dress to put together based off the directions as I read through. It only calls for 12 steps working through view C. There's the bodice creation, then there's the narrow hem for the arm and the neck. Then you skip down to step 11 because 5 through 10 is if you're going to be doing view B, but I'm not doing view B, so I'm going to skip down to number 11 here, and then continue to work my way through all of the steps here. That's the pocket placement and the gathers, and then I'll finish off with step 20, which is just finishing off the hem, and steps 18 through 19 I don't do because I am not doing view A, I'm doing view C. So this again should be pretty straightforward to work through. I'm trying to think, was there anything that I might want to call out for this pattern? I don't think so. The only thing I would say is if you are a very visual person and want to watch a sew along or do something like this, there is one available that just came out I think about a week ago. Anita by Design, she does this exact dress here. However, I think in her video she is doing view B because she has sleeves on hers. This one does not have sleeves on it. So one thing I will note that I will probably go back and watch her video because I noticed in her video she did something different with the pockets. I think she made her pockets a little bit longer so that they don't actually flap. I think when she did her pockets, she started her pocket perhaps at the very top of the bodice. I don't remember exactly, or at the top of the empire waist, and worked it down so that it doesn't flop around. But go watch her video. It's very, very detailed, very well put together. She very slow paced, and you know, it's definitely something you might want to check out. But yes, I'm going to go ahead and work on this dress. And the first thing I think I'm going to do is go ahead and get my my fabric pieces cut out because I do have the pattern pieces cut already, and I don't have my fabric pieces quite ready for my new look pattern just yet. So I'm going to go ahead and get started on this one here and get get ahead a little bit. I can't think of the word I want to say, but you know what I mean. I just want to try to keep things moving along. So I'll try to get this as much as I can before I start working on the new look pattern. So yep, that is the goal. All right, guys. So when I followed the pattern layout on the fabric for this this McCall's dress, it did not make sense to me. So it told me to fold everything inward, right? So the selvage would have been this way, and then I was supposed to fold the fabric inside. I'm gonna put a picture up here so you can see it for yourself. When I did that and I put the pattern piece wrong side, right side down, so the wrong side was facing me, the notches for the pattern piece end up being on the folded side, which really did not make sense, because if I were to go and cut this and have my notches on the folded side, then I would have holes in the skirt. So I sat with it for a minute and I was thinking, I don't think this is how I should cut this out. So I just went ahead and did the traditional selvage up here, right there. You'll see the selvage in, and then I put the pattern piece right side up as I typically see it. Now, this did not tell me, again, on the pattern piece what side would have been the side for the fold, but based off of my experience in sewing, again, I feel like the notches should be on the raw edge of the fabric and not the folded side of the fabric. And also looks like my pockets are going to line up here and up there. So I think that's the way I should cut this. I'm gonna go ahead and cut out to, oh, not only that, when I tried to cut this based off the fabric layout, I did not have enough fabric, okay? I did not have enough fabric to do two of these, the front and the back. I didn't have enough to get it cut. So it would have made my fabric short by like almost a whole yard, close to a yard. So I don't know about that layout. I'm gonna go and watch a quick video just to make sure that I am cutting this out the way I think it should be done. And I'm hoping that this makes sense once I get it finished. But yeah, the layout that this pattern showed for view C on this dress was not, it wasn't making sense. Alright, so I end up going back to the original layout after all, because even when I did the traditional selvage to selvage, I still did not have enough to, I had enough to do view C, right? Both the front and back on the fold, but I did not have enough fabric to do the bodice front and back on the fold as the instructions indicate. So I went back and did the bringing the raw edges in the middle and my selvage on the right up here. And what I'll do is I will cut view, I'll cut for view C, pattern number 6 on the, I'll keep the pattern right side up so that I keep the raw edges raw for all my notches and the placement for the pockets. And then I'm going to flip it over when I go to the other side so that the raw edges are still lined up with where the notches and all will be. I think that's the way I want to do that, because once I put the pockets on, the pockets are supposed to line up around here. So again, I don't want the pockets to line up here, so I'll have to flip this over, but I hope that makes sense, guys. This was a little tricky in terms of the cutting out. I thought the layout was self-explanatory, but it kind of is, but really not, because I'm finding I still need to do my own cutting, my own way of cutting this pattern out. So yeah, that's what we are going to have to do, I think, still. right, y'all, so the bodice is finished. It is complete. I did have a bit of an issue. I forgot to use my tissue paper to get my sewing started with my knit fabric like I typically do. I was just too excited to get this started on the baby lock, and I totally forgot about the tissue paper. And it created a jam down in where the bobbin and the needle and all sit. So I had to take the machine apart a little bit and get that jam out, but I did that. And then I actually needed to readjust my stitch type because the number 6 was a really, really narrow stitch. And with that stitch, it created some looping, some loops. And you know, when this happens, I know it could be a couple of things. It could be your needle, it could be the tension, it could be just the stitch itself. So what I did was just change the stitch from the number 6 to the number 9. And when I did that, it created a much cleaner narrow hem for the arms. So I just wrote in my little journal, my notes, that when I do a double brushed poly knit on my baby lock, what those settings are and the settings that work best with my machine and this type of fabric for my you know, narrow hems or what have you. So so again, the bodice is nearly finished, or it is finished actually. Down here is kind of where I had that terrible jam. I'm hoping that when I attach the skirt front and back, I can actually, I may just sew this up. I don't know. I might have to, prayerfully, I can close this up when I put the bottom on. All right, guys, so I finished the dress and I'm super happy, super excited. Honestly, I only really need to do the hem on the bottom and sew up the casing where I inserted the elastic, and it'll be finished. So it's basically done. I have it on right now. But I don't often get to sew up my items and then show you all what it looks like and be able to wear it on camera. So this is a huge win for me, being able to finish it and then actually showcase it in the video. So again, great win. This was a fairly easy dress to put together. Really great, again, for beginners. It includes learning how to do a dart, a pocket, gathers, and casing. I will say that I should have gone up a size for the front bodice, because although the back bodice looks great and feels great, you'll see in a moment, the front bodice is too small. It's not. It should have been a bigger size. And I'll kind of show you that. Right, that is not really sizing. I think it has a lot to do also with how I did the gatherings and how my stitches were done when I tried to gather and then sew the bodice and the front together. I just had a little bit of a struggle with the gathering stitches on here, so I'm not sure if it's really user error or if it's just the sizing. I do feel like if I do this again, I might go up a size with the front bodice, but overall I still do like the dress. I forget what they call this style when the seam line sits around the upper bust area. That's really what this is given. So honestly, if you saw me in this and did not see this video, you probably would not even think anything of the look, because this is a look that I've seen before. One thing I did by accident, and I realized I did it wrong once I was well into getting it finished, but when I did the casing for the elastic. I should have sewn the seam allowance to the bodice only, and I end up sewing it to the bottom of the skirt. So it should have been sewn to the top here, and I sewed mine on the bottom. So it does feel a little bulky around this area because that's where the elastic is sitting, and it should have been attached or sewn to here. So again, the only troublesome part for me was actually doing the gathers, because that took a lot of time, and my serger malfunctioned on me. I had not used my serger for a long time, so much so I never changed the thread out. It's still the purple thread I had in there from a dress I did like maybe a year and a half ago. And I tried to pull it out, and it made a clunking noise, and then it was a horrible jam, and then I got the jam out and I put my foot on the pedal and nothing happened. It just said, it was just a humming noise, and my needle didn't move. So I have to take her to the shop now and get her repaired. Hopefully the repairs aren't going to be costly. I was thinking about getting a different kind of serger anyway, but I want to get this one fixed and still use it until I'm ready to invest in another serger. So now she has to go to the shop. But yeah, so for the most part, again, I do feel like this was an easy come together. The bodice was the only part that in terms of sizing, I don't think worked well for me, but it ended up still being a pretty nice dress, I would say. What I am noticing as I go into my as I continue on my sewing journey is that I do love to sew and wear dresses. I like to wear a dress when I sew because they feel they're roomy for one. I feel very comfortable in them. And I find this easier for me to like slip on and slip off garments as I'm, testing them and trying things for fit. So this is probably something that you will see me again in really soon as I sew. Again, because I just love the feel of it. So yeah, I am going to show you a video of me in the dress so that you can kind of see it flow and see what it looks like. But